Hi YouTubers, I'm going to do a response video today to Find Truth, Find Peace. It's a response video to a video I made earlier called What Atheism Offers, and we're going to go straight on because there's lots to get through, and I think it's quite an important video to make. He did actually do this response back in December, but I never got it, so I just discovered it as I was looking through YouTube, and I think it deserves a response, so here we go.
Atheism offers freedom. Okay, but what makes you think another religion doesn't offer freedom? Like Islam. You see, we have the choice to do things. You mentioned among the things like having sex when you feel like it, drinking when you feel like it, doing all these things just off of impulse. I could do these things. It's not like I don't have the freedom to do them. I have the freedom, but I choose not to. We choose not to. I don't have any really desire to go and just go have sex whenever I feel like it, you know, like some type of a dog, you know. I just go hump when I feel like humping.
Okay, the first point, it's a good idea to have sex when you actually want it as opposed to when you don't. It's not much good if you don't. But dogs, yes, the female dog, the bitch, can only have sex for just a few days of the year. The dog, obviously, always looking for his bitches, but can't have sex that often either because of the fact that the bitches they don't tell them off. In human terms, we can have sex when we want if it's between consenting adults, and it's nobody else's business, is it? Nobody else's business at all. So I can't see why you have a problem with that, or Islam has a problem with that. Anyway, we'll carry on to the next bit. I'll get to this more of that later.
Or so you mentioned that this freedom doesn't mean that you can go out and murder, or that you want to go and murder and steal, but why not? You know, you already said that, okay, I'm just going to leave this part of the religion, that I cannot drink, I cannot have sex when I feel like it, but you know what, I won't murder. But why not? I can take a guess and I can say it's because you don't want to get locked up. You know, it's just... that's pretty obvious.
Okay, freedom. It's nice to know that you have freedom to, say, leave Islam and freedom to drink in a pub and all those sort of things, but you choose not to. However, freedom is something which, in this context, concentrates on the fact that things that don't affect anybody else are basically nobody else's business. And religion loves to stick its nose into those sort of things. I know Islam loves it. However, things about murdering and stealing, for instance. Now, do you think that if you didn't have your religion, if you weren't following Islam, you'd be a murderer and a thief? Now, why would you want to do those things? Why? In a social cohesion group that we all live in, and part of humanity is the social grouping. Why would we go around stealing and murdering each other? Do unto others as they do unto you is a code that should be followed and is followed by most people in the world. Okay, I ask you, how many atheist suicide bombers are there?
So basically, I don't know if it's that you really don't believe in God, or is it that you have a hard time following the commandments. You know, like a person who goes to work, he has to show up on time, but he struggles to show up on time, and he has to wear a tie, but he doesn't like wearing a tie, and he has to wear black pants, but he likes brown pants. So what does he do? He quits the job altogether? No.
Okay, I've got absolutely no problem with doing a job where they tell you what tie to wear, or what coloured trousers, pants in underwear in Britain, but and things like that, and having little rules about being there on time. I mean, these are all social cohesion rules that we all need to stick to. You wouldn't get paid otherwise, would you? But if I went to work and at this workplace they said you've got to bow down and pray to a devil 3 times a day, I'd say, what a load of whack jobs, I'm not going to work here, this is a rubbish job, and generally look somewhere else. And this is the problem. You know, if a religion said to me, you've got to kill anybody who doesn't doesn't believe what you believe, or you've got to ostracize them or get rid of them. Those are things that also I would not follow. So certain rules, you just don't follow them because you think about them and you think, well, that's not right, is it? You know, it makes common sense to me.
You had mentioned circumcision and how you don't have to make your child get circumcised. But there are many health benefits to being circumcised. Like, you know, when you're uncircumcised, you have extra foreskin. And the non-Muslims, when they use the bathroom, they don't clean, or usually, as far as I'm aware, they don't clean the area in which they use the bathroom. And when the foreskin goes upon the head, all that residue, the leftover from your urinating, is now being covered by the foreskin, which just creates a whole bunch of disgustingness. Rather, when you're circumcised, after you're done urinating, you clean the area and you have nothing to overlap the head, which creates probably all types of bacteria and funguses and germs, and I don't want to go more into detail.
Ooh, now here's a subject I didn't really want to talk about, but here we go. If you know anybody who does have a foreskin, you will find that they get an extreme amount of extra sensual feeling from that area. It's also, it covers and protects the penis, the head of the penis. Okay, it does protect. Now, your body is full of its own antibodies and various fluids. Okay, but for instance, you might, if you go for a dump and you don't get every bit of the old dump out your butt, it doesn't fester after a day. It actually seals. It's sealed in, and the body does cope very well with this. I don't really want to go on about that. Also, you can pull the thing back. Right, you can pull it right back. You can clean it. You can clean it every day. It's fantastic. It's a great little toy, honestly. But if you've never had one, I can understand that you're a bit jealous, really. Although you can't really be jealous because you never had one, so it's difficult for this conversation to go on. But as for the health implications, I'm afraid it's one of those things that are really made up by circumcised men. There are a few little issues that you could pick on if you're diabetic, for instance. You know. The extra sugar in the urine can turns to yeast, sort of thing. But apart from that, which is a very minor thing, and it's all copable, and it's great having one, because I feel very sorry for people who don't, actually. It would be so sensitive. I don't know. I can't explain it. Anyway, go and ask somebody who's got one, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
So you said, being an atheist, I can approach things more scientifically. But what makes you think people of religion can't approach things more scientifically? In fact, in the U.S. or with the Western countries, the majority of doctors are Pakistani. As far as I'm aware, the majority of doctors are Pakistani, and the majority of Pakistanis are Muslim. So chances are, if you need a surgery one day, you'll be under the knife of a Muslim. Isn't that ironic? Meaning a doctor, of course. I didn't do it. You mentioned how a woman can see a male doctor and how a male can see a female doctor. But let me ask you something. When you're going for a haircut, as a man, would you feel comfortable going to a female doctor? No, why not? Because you have a beard, she doesn't have a beard, because your hair grows more bushy in the back than hers is light. Would a female be more comfortable going to a male barber, or vice versa? No, obviously they feel more comfortable going to their own sex to cut their own hair because of the different qualities of men and women's hair. So similarly, for a doctor, I mean, you have organs that a woman doesn't have, and a woman has organs that a man doesn't have. So when they feel comfortable going to their own sex, I mean, I can understand if there were no members of the same sex, then okay, go to the other one. But why would you want to go to the opposite sex? Is it for some like weird sexual fantasy? Ooh, let me go get examined by a female doctor. You know, so I just think that's silly.
Okay, firstly, I've had my hair cut by men and women, probably more women, in fact, than men. Never thought about it, never ever thought about it, really, until you brought it up. I don't have a beard, of course, so I don't have that problem, but I shave, you know, it's cleaner. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so I don't have a problem at all with having my hair cut. As for female doctors, yes, there are quite a lot of Pakistani, or even Indian and Pakistani. I never asked them where they're actually from, but certainly Asian doctors, and certainly there are quite a lot of Muslim doctors also in Britain anyway. Now, interesting story, very quickly. I went to my doctor's a couple of years back, 2 or 3 years back, and I had a little bit of a problem. I was worried in case I had testicular cancer. You know, it was one of those things needed checking out. So I went to the doctor's. And lo and behold, at my doctor's, you know, it's one of those places where you have to take whichever doctor happens to be there. It's not one where you can choose. Lo and behold, what do I get? Oh, great. It was a female Muslim doctor in the hijab. How about that for luck? So go in, say, sorry, it's me old gonads. Now, she did say to me, look, did you want to see a male doctor? And I said, well, do you want me to see a male doctor? You know, I'm not bothered, because I'm not bothered. I'm really not bothered. And she said, no, I'm fine about it, so that's fine. So she has a good old prob with the old doodles. And no problem whatsoever, and I didn't even stand to attention. So it wasn't sexual, I wanted medical help. Now, the thing about scientists don't... doctors are not scientists. Doctors are experts in their own field, which is of course the male and female body. Now, you're saying that, you know, a female doctor won't understand a male. Well, there's bloody vets in the world, isn't there? I mean, vets understand animals. It's exactly the same principle. Are you saying that only another animal can understand that animal? No, there is a certain understanding of, obviously, biology and physiology. And that's nothing really to do with the science that we talk about. However, let's go on to the next thing. By the way, I was fine. It was nothing.
Free from all religions. That's atheism, which kind of sounds like a religion. I mean, look up the definition of religion.
Well, look up the definition of atheism and you'll see it's an absence of God or gods. And religions, of course. Thank you.
You mentioned that nature should be held higher than God. God created the nature, so why should the nature be more important than God?
Looking after nature is more important than looking after God, because generally it's all we've got. Now, as any farmer knows, you look after the crops, you look after your livestock. If you don't, and you clear off to a temple and it all gets raided and all gets ruined, then it's whose fault is that? People rely upon those things. Not just him, but also the community that depend upon those crops or the cattle or whatever. If you don't look after them, what's going to happen? Is a big god going to turn up in a top hat and tails and stick a plaster on everything? No, it's not. It's not going to happen. You've got to look after the planet we live in and treat it in a way that is respectful, obviously. I'm sure you'll agree.
You mentioned how you want to just have drink and booze and sex whenever you want to, and oh, I just want to... I mean, that's like the mentality of a baby. You know, the baby wants to eat when it wants to eat. It wants to drink a bottle when it wants to drink it. Wants its rattle when it wants its rattle. You know, like an animal. You know, they want to have sex when they want to have sex. You know, and dogs, they just go humping everything and humping fire hydrants and legs and everything. I mean, if that's how you want to live your life, with less discipline than an animal. I mean, even some animals have more discipline as far as the things that they eat. You know, you want to eat, or you want to eat everything you want to eat. You know, some animals are confined to being herbivores, carnivores, eating both. You know, similarly, humans should be more disciplined than an animal. This is normal for an animal, and I mean no disrespect to animals, but we're not animals. We're different from the animals. So when a human starts acting like an animal, that's a problem. But for an animal to act like an animal, that's normal.
Okay, this is a big one. We are animals. Yes, we're mammals. We're part of the mammal group. We evolved as mammals. Right. We have eyes, just the same as all the mammals do. We have, you know, limbs, body parts, bones, liver, heart, guts, ears, you know, I can go on. Backbones, of course. Kidneys. We all carry bacteria, which are the basic earliest form of life. We've got nervous systems, etc, etc, etc. Taste, smell, all these things we share in common with animals. You think we're the best animal around, obviously. Though, what are we the best at? We don't fly like bats. They're much better at flying than we are. We can't run as fast as cheetah, or indeed its nearest prey, the gazelles, which, interestingly, are the second fastest. Go figure. Now, we can't swim like, say, the seals or the dolphins, etc. They are better at all those things than us. What are we good at? Well, we're good at communication. We stand upright. We've freed our hands up. We're good at making things, and of course, to get the brain and the hands, we are top of the tree, if you like, in that sense. But only that sense. We live a terrestrial lifestyle in the environment in which we live, but we can manipulate that environment to the way we, you know, to ourselves, which is something which has taken us away from nature. But we are still animals. We still have similar desires. We still produce semen just the same as the animals, or the mammals. Okay, I'll get to the next bit. We are where we are through self-improvement and social cohesion. And I could not personally build a telephone system. It's been around for at least 100 years, but I personally couldn't build one. I don't know how to, I don't really know how they work. But we say, oh, we, you know, as a species, have learnt all these things about communication, all these things. We have worked together, of course. Every individual has their own individual specialities, and we have cohesively come together as social animals, and that's something else that puts us in the place we are. Try and explain it to you in a second. Our desire to have things like food and sex, and as you say, babies cry, of course, when they want these things. Now, our desire to have those things comes from our animal background, from our natural background, and it's seen in all animals. We seek things that give us pleasure. Obviously, we do seek those things. But if you have too much sex, you sort of go, I've had enough now, I don't want any more. If you eat too much, you get to a point, you could be really hungry, get a meal in front of you and think, finish half of it and go, oh, I've had enough now, I don't really want the rest. You're sort of forcing the rest down. But you enjoyed it. But there are limits within nature that stop you, unless you have, there have been some medical conditions where people can't stop eating or having sex and things like that. There are medical conditions that they lack that ability to do it. But generally, I mean, let's face it, that's 1 in a million. Generally, nature tells us when we've had enough. But we always seek for pleasurable things. Why shouldn't we? Should we always look for things that are dark and nasty and say, oh yeah, that makes my pleasure better? No, those dark and nasty things will turn up, believe me, throughout life. And I'm sure you realise that as well.
You want to just have sex when you want to have sex. Practice self-control. I mean, get married younger. You know, this is the teaching, and this is one of the things that people of the Islamic faith encourage people to do, getting married younger, because this sexual desire is a normal thing amongst both sexes.
Getting married younger, I'm not sure how young you actually mean, but getting married younger, marriage itself is really about love. Sex is really about sex. But when two people come together for life, I think it's quite important they should love each other. This is very difficult when they're really young. Throughout life you'll start to meet other people, and quite often you'll probably find somebody you'd probably rather be with than that person that you met when you were like 15. So it can be rather awkward also. I don't think you should dictate to people when they should get married, or when they find that time. They'll know when that's right, and leave people to do their own thing. How can you dictate to people that they must get married when they're younger? That's just so really nasty. Okay, a few people will get married young and a few people will stay in love forever. But that will be the minority, I can assure you. I personally think they ought to wait until they're ready. So it's a difference of opinion perhaps. But why should you force your opinions on everybody else? I'm not forcing mine on you, you know. Anyway, let's carry on.
So you say, oh, religion controls people, but what I see is your solution from losing the control of religion is people losing self-control. The whole point of a religion is to implement self-control in your life.
The whole point of religion is to influence self-control in your life. The whole point of religion is to control your life, to get you into that religion so they can make funds out of it, so they can dominate political power. That is the point of religions. If you listen to anything I've said to you, anything you've taken in, you must realise there is some serious control, and sex in particular, it seems, is one of those great controls. Take all that away from religion and it has nothing. And you can control yourself quite happily without it, believe me. And you probably won't get any more sex, like me either. But, oh no but.
Such as restraining your desires, restraining your wants, your all these things, and going about them in permissible means. Self-control, not controlling others, self-control.
I think the question here is, I've got to ask you, what is this self-control for? What sort of self-control are you on about? Self-control of what? Why self-control? Is it for a reason? Is it for a purpose? If you're like diabetic and you have to obviously have sort of self-control of not eating lots of sugary products, things like that. There is a reason for that. What is the reason for your self-control? What are we hurting? If somebody is not hurting somebody else, if they're not doing anything, if two people, for instance, going back to sex once again, if two people are having sex and homosexuals, gays, whatever, doesn't matter what they are, if two people or three people are having those things and it doesn't bother you, why the bloody hell do you keep going on about it? I mean, it doesn't bother you. It's not affecting your life. What is affecting your life about this? It doesn't affect my life. I don't go around thinking, oh, look at those gay couple over there. Oh, well, I better ostracise them. I better be nasty to them. You know, I don't want to be nasty to people, Muslims. I've got no problem with Muslims. As I said earlier with the Muslim doctor, I didn't have a problem with that. I've got no problem whatsoever with that. It's this crazy ideology that makes you... Oh, the dog's coming up now. Right, hello. Not there. Oh, that's ruined it, hasn't it? Thanks, Echo. Come here. There we are. Dogs. Lovely things. See? Mammals. Eyes. Nose. Mouth. Go on, babes. Go on. Oh, go on. Lovely creatures. Apart from him. He's a git. I'm cut. Oh, this is silly. Okay, you're going to come back at me here and say, oh, well, adultery, it's wrong. You could have problems within a family because of adultery. Well, it's a problem for the family. People could have really bad lives. There's always somebody it seems you want to blame. It's always got to be either the woman or the man. The man hits the woman, or the woman went off and had an affair and all the rest of it. Well, these things do need settling within a family, but they don't need settling within a culture. They are things that should be left to families, to people, to individuals. You don't know the whole story. Nobody knows the whole story of what happens between two people. And I can't see why people want to and always seem to think they can stick their bloody noses in. And that makes me angry. It does make me angry. And it makes me angry when people dictate what you should do and what you shouldn't do in situations they have no idea of. Okay, that'll do for now.
You mentioned how you want to demand, I don't demand respect, but earn respect. Elaborate on that, because I don't know what it means. You just said, I don't demand respect, I want to earn respect.
Okay, basically what I mean is, if you respect my views, then you respect my views. If you don't respect my views, then you don't respect my views. you're not going to respect me for my views if you don't respect my views. How clear is that? I don't respect Islam because I do not respect its views. I don't like the way any religion sticks its nose into people's business that has absolutely nothing to do with it. As I've probably made quite clear. Now, if you have, say, a crap car, in my opinion, you might love that car. You might say to yourself, this is the best car I've ever had. I love this brand of car. I come along and say, I hate those cars. They are rubbish. I have an opinion. Okay? And you have your opinion. And we can both disagree on it. We can both say, you know, that's fine. We'll come to an agreement to disagree, if you like. So why can't we do that about other things? But it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult when you have a book that says non-believers should be killed, you know? I don't have a book that says all Muslims should be killed, all religious people should be killed, because I understand social cohesion and I understand these things. Which is why I seem passionate now, but, you know, I'm not a danger to anyone. But there are people out there who I consider a danger to me. And we'll leave it there. And over to you. Peace, anyway.